Hi, I'm Professor Petroselli. In this video, you're going to learn how I used dream control to get a powerful insight on how I could heal my crippled knees. This was after every doctor I had gone to told me there was absolutely nothing they could do. At 20 years old, my knee were so bad you could hear them click from the simple act of walking. When I attempted to climb the stairs of my fifth-floor New York City apartment, tenement apartment, I had to physically pull myself up those stairs by the hand, up the handrail, because my legs would give out underneath. Now, in my head, all I'd think was, I'm going to end up being a cripple for the rest of my life. My next step has got to be a wheelchair. Now, how did my knees get that bad? In high school, I was drafted onto the track team after one of those special athletic days at La Salle Academy. Now, did I like track? Did I like running? No. Didn't make any sense to me. Unless, of course, you had a need like you're running from the cops. But I was fast. I had endurance. And my teacher, Dr. Otto Van Exel, a 6'5" hulk of a man, said very intimidatingly, "Listen, pal, if you want to pass biology, you'll join the team." And that was that. I'd have to run several miles daily after school with two other teammates. We'd go along a stretch of New York City's East River, and we'd take the long subway ride up to Van Cortlandt Park in the Bronx. During my high school year, I was pretty much injury-free. But when I left that high school, just out of habit, I continued to run. Now, this was before the running craze would fixate America, and running would become a national pastime. I'd get up 5 a.m. every morning, put on my running shoes, head a few blocks north of Washington Square Park. Now, Washington Square Park back then wasn't the beautiful tree-lined, manicured and sculptured park it is today. The park was grimy and old, and I think the urine-colored water that came out of the fountain was radioactive. I wouldn't run in the park. I'd run on the sidewalk, which circumnavigated the perimeter of the park. The sidewalks were an obstacle course within themselves. They were uneven, and they had giant crevices, craters, that you could disappear into. Repairs took the city months, maybe even years, to get around to. Running around the park was dangerous in more ways than one. And in the dusk of early morning, fat rats the size of obese cats would run from the park, across the sidewalk, and out to the street, looking to find maybe a rancid piece of pizza crust to chew on. Sometimes they'd catch my feet as they ran by. I'd get startled, and I'd sometimes sidestep into one of those craters, and my foot would get twisted, I'd lose my balance, and come crashing down into the sidewalk. Running around the park back then was like running through a minefield. I was lucky for a while. Almost overnight, running became cool in America. Jim Fick, the noted author, had written a book, and it became the new health craze. Everybody was running. Everybody was looking to make a buck off running back then. Now, back then, running shoes were like your grandmother's slip-ons with cleats on them. But you had to be cool because the marketers told you so. So I gave up my precious, comfortable Reebok sneakers for a pair of expensive Adidas runners. Now, I don't know if it had anything to do with those new running shoes, but in the next few weeks, my legs were beginning to hurt, and my knee. Finally, the pain got so bad I couldn't run. Could barely walk. Even lifting myself out of a chair took an enormous effort, and I always needed something to grab on. Pain became constant. My knees would buckle, and I'd fall. I began to view myself as a cripple. I went to the doctor, and the doctor sent me to some specialists. Now, arthroscopic surgery wasn't even invented at the time. What they did back then, they cut open your leg to take a look. The docs called it exploratory surgery. Now, after that, you had to wait up to 6 months for your legs to heal before they could do anything, if it was even possible to do anything. Now, this didn't sound like science to me. It sounded like experimentation, and I was their guinea pig. Meanwhile, my cousin Michael was in an accident a year before, down a ski slope that had frozen into pure ice. His feet went out from under him. His legs twisted and went in multiple directions. Well, I ran into Michael at a family party. I said, "Michael, you look like you're walking just fine. What's the problem?" Michael said, "Yeah, I was really screwed up." Then I found this phenomenal sports doctor, Dr. Benami in Staten Island. This guy had the reputation as the go-to guy for this type of injury. He was a sports doctor for the Yankees and the Giants also. It took me 6 weeks to get that appointment. I waited 2 hours in his office. Finally, I was escorted into his examining room. The doc comes out. I'm really shocked at this point because he looks like a young Warren Beatty. So I joked to Doc, "Are you a real doc? Or you just play a doc in a movie?" I smiled. I broke the ice. We had a few words. Then he had his nurse come in and arrange an appointment up at Bellevue Hospital for an MRI. So a month later, I go back to his office in Staten Island. Now I'm clutching those MRI scans like they're a winning lotto number, because that's how much I paid for these things. I handed Dr. Benami the envelope. He held the MRI scans up to the light, and he spoke. "John, Here's the story. If you were a big-time athlete making several $1 million a year, I might scrape that cartilage, and most likely you'd be able to play for another 2 years. But at that point, since it's raw bone against raw bone, at the least, you'd end up with crippling arthritis. The doc knew I had no money for an operation of that magnitude. I had no resources, and he definitely knew the Yankees weren't going to draft. That's all he could offer me. So now I'm out of options. Every moment I'm thinking about it. Now, once night, I'm reaching for a book on my shelf, and the Silva manual fell from the shelf. I looked at it. I haven't looked at it since taking a class. I remember the instructor saying something about healing. He talked about dream control. He talked about getting answers from the universe. He talked about where there was a great Greek restaurant about 2 blocks away. So I sat on my bed. I remember the instructor telling me about a way to get answers that you can't find anyplace else. As I read, this one technique simplistic enough. I tell myself, tonight I will have a dream, and I'll remember that dream. It's a dream that will give me the solutions to the problem I have at hand. For me, that step was, what is my next step? When I woke up the next morning, the only thing I could remember that I wrote down was of this gym bench, which I'd seen in local gyms but never used. It's that one where you lie on your stomach, you put your legs, your ankles behind the cushion, and it's almost like a bicep curl. The only thing you're using your leg. But I was also thinking at the same time, here I am, looking for an answer, and I'm dreaming a gym bench. But then, when I woke up on subsequent mornings, that same dream would occur over and over again. It's like my brain was on some sort of demented autopilot. I'd wake up, there's an image of a gym bench. And I thought, why can't I dream of women like normal guys? So a week later, here I am at the gym, still doing some upper body work, not dead yet. And I look over, there's the bench that I keep seeing in my dreams. I went up, straddled it, sat on it. I was thinking, the heck, I don't have anything to lose at this point. I'm going to try it out. So I put on a moderate weight, which was about 30 pounds. And I did maybe 8 reps, not much. Didn't think too much about it at the time. But in the next 2 weeks, every time I went to that gym, I repeated that little exercise. One day, 3 weeks later, I'm coming home. Neighbor in my hallway stops me. Hey, John, you're looking good. How come I didn't hear your knees cracking coming up the stairs? Now, I hadn't thought about my legs in a few days. I moved my leg, it wasn't clicking. Then I went up a flight of stairs, and I didn't have grasp onto the hand railing. I just moved around. I was actually waiting for the pain to click back in. Nothing, nada. So later in that week again, I had an appointment with Dr. Banana. But this time I'm excited. I'm telling him, hey, doc, check this out. My knees aren't clicking and I'm climbing staircase. So now I feel a little weird because after all, he's feeling up my leg and I'm telling him about a dream and the exercise bed and how I took a chance and started doing this gym exercise. He looked up at me and said, a little half smiling, well, I guess you discovered a way to build up those supporting muscles around the knee. And he winked at me. Don't tell my customers. From that point on, I was evangelical with this. Whenever I saw a female in the gym with that big rubber inner tube tire wrapped around her knee, I jump up and down and say, you got to try it. You're not going to believe it, but in a few weeks, you'll be thinking, and you can put that tire back on your car instead of around your knee. I was like a possessed lunatic. I told literally hundreds of people over the years, same story, and they have had the same miraculous results after following that dream. They built up their leg muscle, and who can't appreciate being able to walk again? Now, who knows if all the coincidences were coincidences? The Silva manual falling off the shelf, the same dream over and over again of that exercise bench, my willingness to trust that dream, because if I didn't, I surely might be in a wheelchair today. As a hypnotherapist with many years' experience, I've discovered dreams have a purpose. Most clients come in because in a dream, they're having the same repetitive night, a handful of thoughts in an endless loop, like a gerbil chasing his tail, going nowhere, and it plays over and over, relentless during waking consciousness. One of the results of a good hypnotherapy session is clients report they can break that cycle, that not only do they hear the silence, but they think different. In our dreams, we can access memories we forgot, we can use them, or we can create dreams that become the blueprint of our life. When I first did a very limited form of hypnotherapy, as hypnotherapy hadn't evolved to the powerful level that we practice today, the session also accelerated what I could do with the Silva technique, where I can now put that knowledge into practice, into action. Now, ask yourself, are you looking to move to the next stage of mind development where you have that edge? You might think about giving me a call and speak of those possibilities that are there for you. It's John Petrucelli, Professor John Petrucelli. The techniques are there. If you're watching this video, most likely you're a graduate. Put them into practice. You'll never regret it.